How does that saying go? The bigger they are, the harder they fall. Well, we are going to take a look at that today with Joe Biden. And what do we have here on our screen is a bunch of pictures from Google Images. We're going to take a look at three different things here. Actually, four. The four is kind of like a derivative of the last one. But we're going to look at YouTube search volume over a certain period of time, Google search volume over a period of time for Joe Biden, and see how it is, not just in terms of the overall, but relative to some of these other candidates. And then we're going to take a look at his website and see how his website ranking is in the US and on a global scale. And the last is we're going to take a look at that relative to the other candidates to see if he is losing steam. Now, if you want to stay tuned for that, before we get into it, what's good? My name is Sam, and if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you're returning, you had better be pressing that like button. All right, let's get into it. So, Joe Biden. So, if you just put in Joe Biden losing steam, there's a bunch of articles coming up over 2 weeks ago. These are from supposedly like credible places, right? This is Town Hall, Center for Responsive Politics, U.S. News and World Report, Daily Mail, and all of them in their title are talking about, or not all of them, but a decent number are talking about Joe Biden losing steam. So I wanted to check that out. And to do that, I wanted to start with the YouTube search volume. So how do we check that? We use Google Trends, and we put in each candidate's name. So here we have Joe Biden, Andrew Yang, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders. By the way, if you want to check out some good content on Andrew Yang, check out the channel. Okay, so over the past 12 months on YouTube, right, we would expect to see him. He's currently ranked number 3 over the past 12 months, behind Bernie and behind Andrew Yang. And he is ahead of Elizabeth Warren. So he's ahead of he's behind Andrew Yang by about 11, and he's behind Bernie Sanders by like 8, it looks like, right? 9. Okay, so let's step in right here and just see how this changes as we move forward. So this is over the past 90 days. So this is much more recent data to try to understand. And let's take a look first at Andrew Yang. And Andrew Yang has actually increased his lead by a marginal amount, right? He went from 11 ahead. Now he's 12 ahead. So that's good. But Bernie Sanders has lost a lot of ground. He was ahead by 9, and now he's ahead by 6. So it looks like this may not be accurate, right? Just based on this preliminary look that we're taking, that we're looking at here on YouTube search volume, Joe Biden's actually gaining. And again, when we step into the past 30 days, we see Joe Biden again. He's still lost ground. He's lost even more ground to Andrew Yang. Because I think, let's see, he's got close to a 18-point deficit relative to Andrew Yang over the last 30 days versus, what did he have, a 12? So he's lost more ground and at an increasing pace to Andrew Yang. But he did beat Bernie Sanders. So when you take a look at YouTube search, Joe Biden is actually gaining. But let's go back to the 12-month, and then let's go over to the Google search. So this is the web search for each one of these candidates over the past 12 months. This is all of the search volume. So whatever some person searches for in America, if they search for one of these 4 names, it's going to show up here. So this is all the data over the last 12 months. Now, over the last 12 months, we can see that Joe Biden is number 2, only to Bernie Sanders, and he's 2 spots behind Bernie Sanders. He's ahead of Andrew Yang by about 9, and he's ahead of Elizabeth Warren by about 3. But let's take a step in now that we have a foundation of where we are and see where we're at the 90-day. So at the 90-day, he has, what was it for Bernie Sanders? I don't remember. Bernie Sanders had a lead on him of 2 points, right? 19 versus 17. Now at the 90-day, he still has a 2-point lead, so he hasn't gained anything on Bernie Sanders. However, this is what starts to be interesting, right? On the last one, he was gaining ground. On the Google search volume, he's losing ground over the last 90 days. Now he only gets separated by Andrew Yang by 1 point right here on the average search volume. So he's only just barely ahead of Andrew Yang, and he is tied, right? We've got 11 and 11 for Elizabeth Warren. So he's went from being number 2 to being tied for second place. Now let's come up to the 30-day. So as we're walking through this, you can see that the YouTube search volume tells a different story than the Google search volume. Kind of interesting, right? And why are we using Google and YouTube? Because those are the two biggest sites on the entire planet. The number of searches coming through the Google search, like people actually entering in these keywords, is like 3.8 million per like minute or something like that. It comes out to be a daily search volume of like 5.6 billion, like fucking ridiculous number of searches per day. Anyways, okay, so let's come over here. And on the 30-day, he's still tied for second, but he increased his lead over Andrew Yang over the last 30 days. And he's lost ground to Bernie. So Bernie's starting to pull ahead. Joe Biden's basically staying the same, and Elizabeth Warren is staying neck and neck with Joe Biden. Let's take a look at the 7-day. So this is the most recent 7 days as of today's date, which is the 8th of October. And at the most recent 7 days, you can see that Bernie Sanders is substantially ahead, but he had that heart attack thing. That's where you see these giant spikes for Bernie Sanders. Elizabeth Warren is number 2, Joe Biden is number 3, and Andrew Yang is number 4. So when you look at the Google search volume and you take a look at from the macro down to the micro, right, of the 7-day versus the 12-month, you can see that Joe Biden is losing steam. On YouTube, he's gaining. So we still don't have a definitive answer here on like what's actually happening with Joe Biden, because we can look at like these articles and what people think, but I like to see what's actually happening, and that's why we use Google Trends, because this is the collective of Americans, what they're actually searching for. Okay, so let's go take a look at Joe Biden's website. So this is joebiden.com. This is his campaign website. And what are we looking at here? Well, we have pulled up Alexa.com. Alexa.com is owned by Amazon, and they are a data analytics statistics type company that tracks different performance metrics on websites and does a bunch of other things. And one of the sites that I use for gathering data. So what we have here in this chart is the previous 90 days of his website ranking. So I want to draw your attention to the first 30 days here, or first couple days, right? Couple weeks, right? We have he's up and to the right, so that's good. And then something happened around July 24th. So it's kind of interesting because this is the lead up to the debates in July, right? So we have the lead up to the debates, right, over from the 24th down to the 31st, right, at the 30th and the 31st. And that was actually the time where a lot of the other candidates are getting more attention because they're going into the debate. So people want to know who is going into the debate. And we can see clearly that there's a big drop off in Bernie Sanders, right? He went from his website ranking on a global basis to the 63,000th most popular website in the planet to 73rd. So losing 10,000 spots in just under a week. That's a lot of lost influence and attention that you get. You see there's a spike there from the debate, but it spike and then it would immediately drop off to an even lower point. And then it just continued that trend downward. So now we have 2 data points that show us that Joe Biden is losing ground, right? We have the Google search volume he's losing. We have his website that is losing. But let's see how his site is doing relative to the other candidates. And then lastly, we're going to get into some of the YouTube comments and answer those live in this video. Okay, so this is Joe Biden's website relative to the other 10 candidates. And they were stack ranked on 3 different factors, engagement factors on their website, and then they're just overall ranking within the U.S. And then we took an average of those to see who is number one. And we did that stack ranking. So right here we have page views. Why are page views important? Well, page views represent the number of pages that people view on a website on average per visit. So the higher the number for the page views, the better it is, because the site is better, the content is better, what have you, and the person is looking at more stuff. And so the next factor is also time, right? Because if somebody spends more time on a site, then that is a good thing. Somebody's capturing somebody's attention. So the higher the amount of time that somebody spends on a website on average per visit is a relevant factor here. That's why this is factor number 2. And if we take a look on page views, he's ranked number 3rd, right? I think he's actually tied for 3rd. Oh, I'm sorry. He's ranked 4th. He's tied for 4th, right? With 2 other people. Amy, right? Who the fuck is Amy? Like nobody pays attention to Amy. And Beto O'Rourke, again, somebody else that nobody pays attention to. So he's tied with these 2 people in terms of the average number of page views per visit. And we take a look at the total time, right? This is the time that somebody spends on the site. And he's ranked number 3, so he's doing good from the amount of time. The content on the site is at least interesting or stimulating enough for people to spend 2 minutes and 13 seconds on his site on average per visit. So that's good. And the next here is the ranking of the U.S. web. So out of all U.S. websites, where does Joe Biden's rank? And we can see that he is ranked number 6th. So his overall ranking is number 5. And we've done this 3 times, right? So we did it over here on September 2nd, and then we did it again, exactly the same thing on September 17th, and then today, which was 10/8. So as you can see, his website ranked 5th when we started, then it lost some ground, and then it gained some ground. So here we have another story, right? We have some data that points up and some data that points down. I'd love to know what your thoughts are down below in the comments, because I think he is losing ground. I think that he is going to continue to lose ground unless something happens very positively for him in this next debate. I don't see this debate going super well for him that's going to be coming up. So we'll see where that goes. Now, last part here we're going to jump into is the comments. So if you want to see your comment read at the end of one of the videos, make sure you leave it down below. Also, if you definitely want to get it read, just use the hashtag Stolt in front of it. So hashtag Stolt, which is the channel name, and then I will be able to see it and find it much faster through the comments here. So we're going to jump over here to the comment section. By the way, don't forget to press that subscribe button to see other videos like this in the future. So I have Evan here. By the way, Evan, what's good, brother? Thank you for the comment. So, and then we have Andrew too. So both of these guys are from Boston. So Evan writes, Boston Yang Gang here. I search NGM multiple times a day just to check if there's any Yang videos uploaded. Awesome, cool. That's good to know. And I appreciate the comment, Evan. Now, Aaron, use Telly. Me too. Someone did comment that after a while YouTube excludes multiple searches. I don't know if that's accurate or not, so I should probably unheart that because I want people to think that that is an accurate statement. I don't know if that's true, but very interesting comment, and thank you so much, Evan. If you see this video, reach out to me on Instagram or something. Maybe we can link up and do a little interview or something like that. That would be fun, or get a workout in. Now, Catch. Let's move on to the next question. This is Catch. I like that name, Catch. That's a cool name for a channel. We need to boost your channel up. Agreed. Yeah, that sounds like an awesome idea. But first of all, not just because of me, but I think the message of what we're getting out here is that there's other ways of understanding the world around us in 2019 than by just listening to talking heads or the media, right? There's ways that we can actually go look at the data ourselves, and that's what we're trying to do to get a better understanding of what is happening in the US? Like, what is the collective of the US thinking about? What are they actually interested in? What are they aware of? And that is what we try to do in what with some of the analytics that we go into. So if you want to support that message, press that subscribe button. But like more importantly, just get the message out. Like share this video with somebody else. Because I don't think a lot of people realize that this data is out there and that we can do this ourselves. We can go out and we can see who is actually most interested in a certain state by looking within Google Trends at the search volume on Google and YouTube. That represents hundreds of thousands of searches in that state, depending on the time period, potentially millions of data points versus a tiny fraction that do these polls that the media reports on. Like you might have a couple hundred people doing taking a poll that has plenty of biases in it to start with. I mean, just opting in to take a poll to start with gives you biased answers because it's not the most true representation of what is going to happen. The structure of the question changes how people answer it, right? You can check out things like framing bias. If you want to Google framing bias and psychology or something, you can read all about that kind of stuff. And the consistency between multiple different polls, because each poll, the questions might be answered in a different way. And the same thing with framing and the whole structure of a poll is that if the similar question that you compare across different polls is asked at different points in the survey, if it's question number 2 on poll number 1 and question number 4 on poll number 3, and you're trying to compare them, that's not an apples to apples comparison because of the framing bias that we already know about. So if you want to get this information out, I would love the help. Share this video with somebody. Press that fucking subscribe button. That thumbs up button really helps out the channel. Appreciate you guys, and I will be back soon.